adoption of the agenda?
Mr.
Councilor
Chair, I'd
Andrew.
like to add an item, 9.1, in-camera personnel.
And it's time sensitive.
Mhm. Mr. Chair.
And we,
And there's a addendum,
I see that.
Lots.
item 5B,
Where's it?
3.
Three.
Oh, down. 1, 2, 3.
These are just financial statements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Administration's apologies to council for this one because Herman had submitted it, but we forgot to pick it up, put it in the agenda, so. My
Apology,
fault.
apology accepted. Any other changes or additions to? Seeing none, we'll pretend you're in your chair.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
All those in favor? Carried. And scheduled delegations, 15 minutes each. Of course, we have Glenda from STARS. You are up again. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to see all of you.
Did you come in your helicopter?
No, I'm afraid I didn't. I drove. Helicopter is busy right now.
Just about as fast.
Okay, all of you have this, so we'll just follow along. That's all right. I wanted to bring you an update, and if you don't mind, I just want to say that Michael looks better every single year that I come back and see him.
Thank you.
I'm just so pleased.
The first time you met me, I wasn't,
In a very good state. I'm so pleased. Holds a special place in my heart. So let's just start with the recap. I always like to put this in there because for some reason, every council I go back to visit, and there's always either a new council member or someone, or something they may have forgotten, and these are the really key points. So I just want to do a quick review, if you don't mind. The fact that we are available 24/7, and that we are night vision capable. I just had that come up in a morning presentation, that wondering that at night, can we only land at the airport or at a designated certified helipad? No. We have the night vision goggle capability. We can land pretty much anywhere at night as long as there is a clearing. You know, we work very closely with the fire departments to ensure that we have safe landing zone. So anywhere at night, okay, with the night vision capability. We currently have 11 helicopters in our fleet now. That is serving 6 bases across 3 provinces and averaging about 8 missions per day. 5 missions per day in Alberta alone. And we are a nonprofit charitable organization. And what that means to you and I is that if you're ever to be flown by STARS, or your family, your friends, your neighbors, you will not receive a bill. And that is probably the greatest aspect of it, in the fact that we as Albertans are extremely fortunate to have this type of service available to us, because it is not in many provinces across Canada. So first and foremost is finding the patient through the Emergency Link Center. So they oversee all communication and transport. They coordinate all the medical consultations, and we are in contact with physicians at all times during every single mission. So last year, we received over 6,500 medical calls for the rural areas. Quite significant. And also, the Emergency Link Center, they do maintain the registered site program. So a lot of people believe that, you know, that is strictly for industry. They are probably the largest users of this program, but it's not specifically for industry. We have a lot of municipalities that also use this program. If you were to have an annual rodeo, some kind of annual event each year, that you wanted to register the site so that we would have all the pertinent information. As you see in the photo, then everything would come up on the screen. You would be designated a site registration number where you would call STARS directly if you had an incident. That can be for as low as $6 per day. for the cost. We have a lot of individuals that will also use this program. That maybe they have a hunting camp in a specific area for a week. They'll call and register their site for a week, so we have all their pertinent information. As well, we have a lot of rural residents that, you know, that may be living out in a remote area on a farm, maybe because in the interest of safety, especially with, you know, heart attack and stroke, if there is no changes in your site on an annual basis, then you can register your farm for $150 per year. So this is a really key aspect, and we need more people to know about that and utilize that just taking it one step further in the interest of safety. So if you want more information, I did put the website there, and it's under the What We Do tab. Okay. Caring for the patient. I know that all of you understand that, you know, STARS strives to stay on the leading edge of technology. We are known as, you know, internationally as a leader in critical care. So the Airborne Intensive Care Unit within the helicopter itself, this is the latest piece of equipment that we've acquired, is the video laryngoscope. So it's very much like the paramedics are saying, it is a complete game changer as far as intubating a patient. So now this particular piece of equipment has a light and camera on the end, so then with the video camera there, so you can appreciate in trying to intubate a patient in the dark in a moving helicopter at night, how this could really take that one level higher in the interest of top-notch patient care. As well, something that we are extremely proud of now is the fact that we do have universal blood now on all helicopters. So 2 units of blood at all times, blood that can be accepted by any one of us. Previously, we would have had to stop at the hospital, have someone meet us at the helipad in order to pick up blood if we know that we would be needing it for a particular patient. And then that also delays, you know, up 5-10 minutes further in being able to acquire the blood. Now it's on board at all times. And we all know that blood has an expiration date as well, so we work very closely with Canadian Blood Institute to make sure that it is always recycled. And then we acquired, you know, 2 new units. There's a special little kind of a cooler pack that keeps it at exactly the precise temperature that it needs, so that it's on the helicopter at all times. So we are even getting a lot of feedback from the physicians that there's much improved not only for patient outcomes, but in the condition of the patient when they arrive, because we're able to now bring blood to the scene. So where we were not able to do that previously, we didn't have it with us. So this is another key aspect of moving patient care forward. And of course, we also we still maintain the educational program. We have specific donors that supply and donate to this program to provide for the medical units itself and for the program annually. They highly believe in education. So these specific donors provide this. So last year, 847 medical personnel in 51 communities in Alberta received critical care training. So we are able to, you know, bring that training bus to your local community, spend a whole day, recreate, you know, 6 of the worst trauma cases that they'll ever see in their lives, and really put them through the drills with the human patient simulator. It's basically a traveling classroom. So we can come and, you know, work with your local doctors and nurses. The smaller communities, they have only a handful of physicians who can never leave their communities to go away and get, you know, an acquired extra critical care training. This is just another way that we can give back to the communities that we serve. And also outreach training. So if your fire department is interested in, you know, lots of times there's fire departments that will acquire new members and they haven't had landing zone training. So we offer those refresher courses as well, because they are our key aspect, is working with the fire department. You know, we need them. We can't do what we do best without them in what they do best. So last year, 1,495 landing zone officers were trained in Alberta. So STARS is fueled by generosity, and you are a key aspect of that. let's look at the right-hand side. I'm sorry that these, I haven't got the latest for, so these are from the 2013. We haven't finalized our 2014 financials until next week at our AGM, so I'll have further information for you that I can send. But I wanted to let you know, kind of give you a breakdown of what's going on. So on the expenditure side, you know, it's proven time and again in many studies that helicopter EMS saves lives. But at the same time, it is quite costly. You can see that the aviation and medical components take up 2/3 of the pie. The smaller pieces would be like the educational component or dispatch, and administration would be that, since it's not color coded here, sorry, but it's the 14%. So administration costs, you know, we're very cognizant of that. We are well below the CRA allowable of 35% at 14%. On the revenue side, so 24%, that represents the government funding that we do receive through our affiliation agreement that we have with Alberta Health Services. So the other components mean 76% of our budget is fundraising. And this indicates that 32 million, we are now at $36 million budget per year for 3 bases in Alberta. So 76% of that fundraising. Now, I broke that down for you more. Key aspect of that is lottery. We are one of the only home lotteries in Canada that has had a sell-out lottery for 22 years straight. That is a testament on how Albertans feel about having stars available to them. The smaller pieces would be the calendar campaign, which is our touch point with our communities and to share our patient stories, as well as other revenue. Now that points to that site registration program that I told you about. That is our only kind of revenue generating program that we have, is that site registration program. So of the municipal initiative, that falls within that 76% fundraising. Okay. Benefits and value, it's hands down. We know, like, direct early intervention directly impacts saving lives. At the same time, it can have a significant cost savings to our overall healthcare system, especially in the incidence of heart attack or stroke, and can mean at sometimes up to $1 million in savings per patient. When you think about long-term residual effects, especially if you have a younger patient, say the youngest stroke victim that we flew was a 27-year-old male at a rig site. Now, can you imagine the downstream cost to our overall healthcare system for the next 50 years of his life? So there can be, and we do carry the thrombolytic drugs on board as well. And we do have agreements with all of the different area hospitals that as long as they have a CAT scanner, we can go to the nearest hospital, CAT scan that patient to ensure that it is the type of stroke that warrants the thrombolytic drugs so that we can apply that. And in a lot of cases, they're seeing that it's completely reversing all effects. So it's, you know, we strive every year to try and do more and to keep things, you know, where we can make a difference. So let's look closely. I wanted to give you a good 5-year breakdown. So this is these numbers are as of July 31st of this year. So I've shown you what is happening in 2015, but I also gave you a solid 5 years in all of the areas that where we've had seen calls within the Big Lakes County. So a total of 284 calls. Now let's look closely to High Prairie. I broke out that, you know, interfacility transfers are critical patients coming from your hospital, and then also scene calls and search and rescue. Those are together. So you're about half and half. 80 interfacilities, 71 scene and search and rescue calls. So kind of, you know, half and half as far as the types of calls that you would see in close proximity to High Prairie. Any questions on that? Okay. So now I also wanted to give you an idea of what's happening with your neighbors, because being a part of the municipal initiative is also about your neighbors. It's us all working together to ensure that we continue to have this available to us. So to give you an idea, you can see that with the exception of MD of Greenview, that as I have told you before, High Prairie and area is always in our top 3 communities that we serve every year. So that gives you kind of an idea of what's happening in our neck of the woods, if you will. So the municipal initiative, we certainly know that we're all facing a lot of economic challenges right now, but at the same time, Alberta continues to grow and the baby boomers are coming on and we are aging. With that means we continually see increased call volume, and along with that, then increased operational costs as well. We are seeing anywhere on an average each year from 6% to 10% increase each year in the call volume. Protective services are, it is essential for any community, but it's also critical that each community has all options available. We need to ensure that we continue to have that. 249 Alberta communities were served last year by STARS, and as I said, we are of a privileged view that we have this. And currently we have 2/3 of Alberta's municipalities that have joined the municipal initiative, and the range goes as high as $65 per capita, and everything in between. Recently here, within the last year, my role has changed now, where I am now the senior municipal liaison for all of Alberta. So I work directly with all the municipalities. So it's my job now to do what we so successfully did together in the north and take that across the province and ensure that we are all working together as Albertans.
Is that where your missing 1/3 is?
It's spatterings of kind of central and southern. There is a lot of municipalities that have been giving the STARS since the very beginning, so going on 30 years. And then there's some that haven't. So it's more to join everyone together, very much like we did in the north, because in the north we have unanimous support, and it is making a significant difference, of about $1.3 million per year. Pretty significant when you think, if everyone just did their part. I'm asking them all at a minimum $2 per capita, which is how we started in the beginning, and we're just going from there. So it's a bit of a challenge, but at the same time, I think, it's the more important piece is that united effort and what we really can achieve together. I mean, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the municipalities that joined together in the beginning, for Grand Prairie. So the municipal initiative, again, is built around leadership above and beyond, and you have shown that, and I want to thank you so much for your continued unwavering support that you have given. You've been a life-saving partner with us since 2008, so since the very beginning, and your total contributions have now reached over $39,000 to date. I would like to ask for your consideration. Last year, you very kindly did increase to $8,000 per year. So that was a significant increase, and we really do appreciate that. And as I said, because High Prairie is a valued community and our top 3 that we serve each year. I would like to ask if, I have asked in the past for a 3-year term, and for whatever reason, though, it was brought back to me that it would only be year to year. So I would like to ask for your kind consideration again, that we would move to go back to a 3-year term. It's, in the big scheme of things, it allows us to know what we can count on as we move forward. And at the same time, for other municipalities that I've spoken with, a lot of them are giving me the feedback now that it's valued for them as well, because it's a line item that they know is there in their budgets as well, kind of recognizing STARS as a key component of your protective services. And so we'd like to ask for your consideration of that. And in closing, I would just like to say this last Friday, we celebrated across Alberta that STARS has been in service in Alberta for 30 years and has flown over 30,000 missions. We want to continue to be able to enhance critical care and bring that educational component to all the communities that we serve. And we're trying to build a annual schedule so that, you know, each one of the different community hospitals will have their opportunity that we can be doing this annually to enhance that critical care piece. But at the same time, we really need to look to the future generations. We really do need to have some long-term planning for that, because we really want to ensure that we are here for the next 30 years to serve Albertans. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And we are pressed a little bit for time.
Yes.
So are there any questions? Any? Councillor Hunter?
Yeah. So I just looked at your stats, and basically in Alberta you've got about 1,800, just over 1,800 missions in Alberta, and you say that you save up to $1 million per patient. If I even go $250,000 per patient, there's $50 million a year in funding, right? Like, as an average. I'm saying not $1 million. You say up to $1 million. I go, well, even if it's 200,000 each, basically the government of Alberta, if they just realize the savings in healthcare, would be covering your full budget.
This is not, this is strictly on heart attack or stroke victims, not every patient. That is pertaining to just that type of patient.
As an example, okay.
Okay. Just to clarify, I
Your
apologize for that.
I'd like to thank you for the letter that you wrote
Thank you.
in support of our helipad.
Yes.
And we forwarded it to the health minister. And also, I believe that at a UMA, the premier, in her speech to the municipalities, asked for shovel-ready projects. So I believe that we will look at submitting the helipad as one. So
That's wonderful.
we may get something.
The helipad, especially in this community, it's pertinent. It is. So,
One quick question.
Just about your funding. So you're getting from Alberta Health Services.
yes, we have an affiliation agreement with them.
So you only get provincial funding within each province? There's no federal funding at all?
No, we are a provincial service, so that's the same way for Saskatchewan and for Manitoba.
And has that ever been addressed? I imagine that you guys have tried everything. It's just that we have a heavy population of First Nations who are funded by the federal pocketbook, right? So it looks to me like you're not getting anything for that population.
We have had some discussions with that, and we are continuing to nurture those discussions. But currently, we are still recognized more so as a provincial service. And so, as I said, across the 3 provinces that we are, you know, Ontario, for example, does have their own service, but it for many years has been a fully government-funded program, much different than it is out west. So, but we will continue to, you know, it's on our radar screen to try and develop closer relationships and to build more specific statistics that we can present.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Great to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody for allowing us to go over, and we'll afford the same courtesy to our friends from the RCMP. And next up is Sergeant Michael Bergeron.
I believe you all were provided with the information for the enhanced drug unit. So that was all the reports from February through to August. Unfortunately, with the changes that were going on at the detachment, the change in staff sergeants, and with me doing both the jobs, this is one of the things that kind of fell by the wayside. I wasn't aware of the reports, and when it was brought to our attention by the county, we got them up and off for their meeting and also for yours. So there's the information. You can see the work that they've been doing, which is not only the drug work, but it's also the prolific offenders. So they're targeting the people that cause a lot of the problems and the pain in the community. It's that 90-10 rule, sometimes even less than that 5% rule, the people that are constantly causing the issues. So we target them not only to make sure that we're going after them for the things that they're doing, but also when they're not complying with the conditions that they've been released upon. And as soon as they are breaching those, we're holding them accountable and they're getting remanded, which again affects our crime rates. If you're looking at the information here too, the statistics for the last 5 years, really up to date from 2011 to 2015, you'll notice that there are a couple spikes here and there, but we're very level with what's been going on over that time. So we've had a year that's been pretty typical of other years, and we've still seen that the crime is coming down in some aspects. And you'll see a couple of things will fluctuate through the years. Sometimes arsons are a little bit higher, and then they flatten out again. It's just something that happens during that time. You can't always predict what's going to happen, and for instance, sometimes the assaults are down, firing threats are up. There's no real equation for it. It's just what's been experienced throughout the years. As I was saying, the year has been typical for other ones. We have the constant change in our staffing. So we have people that are getting up to their 4-year mark or 5-year mark. We've had some people extend. And then we have the new people that are coming in getting trained, a lot of them coming from depot. It's very much a training detachment. I think some people don't realize just what is here. I'm quite happy to say that High Prairie is my home. And I get a couple of funny looks when people ask me, I say, so where's home? And I go, High Prairie. And they look at me and I say, there's something to that answer. Where I live, where I work, that's my home. And I very much consider High Prairie my home, just like many of the members. And we recently had the Law Enforcement Appreciation Night with the churches here, which was a very nice gesture. It was nice to feel that welcome from them. And some of the members really made an effort to come out to it. And unfortunately, we just had a lot of people in training and other people working, but we still had a good turnout, and everybody appreciated it. So it was a very nice gesture on behalf of the community. We're going to continue on with our objectives, trying to reduce the crimes against people, which is really targeting violence. Also our drug trade, going after that, and trying to reduce the traffic collisions and also any of the other traffic initiatives with impaired driving, targeting it not only through enforcement, getting out there on some of our targeted days, but also the education, getting into the schools and just reaffirming that this is not acceptable and we need to change our way of thinking. We need to get out to the community as well and start talking more to people. There needs to be some forethought before people have events, that maybe we should have a procedure in place or something planned to get people to the function so that we don't have people driving from it. We need to change our thinking on that, and I know we have. When we have our functions, it's very much getting picked up and also being taken home, so there's never that question of do we need to worry about the vehicles getting home or people drinking and driving. And I think we need to start doing that in the communities. We also need to start rethinking some of the things that happen, like the Stampede. I get a lot of comments from people that are saying they don't want to go to it because it's almost like fight night. People come here with the wrong mentality of it's a big whoop up and to see if they can settle old grudges. Nothing but praise for the people that are volunteering their time to make these events happen, but we do need to change our way of thinking. We need to start banning the people that are coming to the campgrounds that are constantly causing issues. We need to have a list, and from what I understand, we already know who the problem people who are there year after year. That needs to stop. And I also will be making contact with the planning committee there that they need to do some changes with the way that they organize the event, and also I think take some of the burden off of the volunteers, because the problem we have is that you have business owners and people who have been in the community for a long time trying to tell the people that are their customers or people that have had a relationship for a long time, yeah, what you're doing is not acceptable. Then they have to live with the effects of that afterwards, where if you get someone independent in, I think you'll see a bit of a difference there, and I think you'll see the pressure come off of those volunteers and the local community members. So it's something we want to do, to have that conversation with them. And we also have increased our coverage for those nights. Unfortunately, this year, even with our increased coverage, we had the homicide that happened during one of the nights of the Stampede, and that took a lot of our resources. So people that we would typically go on a rest and get them out of the equation. We didn't just have the resource to do it at that very particular time because we were dealing with the scene and also trying to support our investigation. Really, I think that's about all I don't want to take up a bunch of your time, but I think we're still progressing well with our education and having a better relationship with the schools. We are planning more of our scenario-based training in the schools for immediate action after deployment. And we're also expanding that off to the provincial building and other buildings around town so that if something were to happen, our members are able to respond to it because they have the skills, they practice those skills, and they are also very familiar with the buildings. Very important. We'll continue on with that. And the other thing I definitely want to do is have some better communication with the different community members and with town council as well. So I was going to suggest, is a quarterly presence required? Is a biannual? What is something that you're looking for as far as increased contact?
Myself personally, I think that the more communication we have, the better.
Absolutely.
And certainly with some of the information that's been floating about lately, I think is a result of some maybe not enough communication between us both. And so the more the better.
Absolutely.
Quarterly, yeah?
I would say quarterly.
It used to be monthly at one time, right?
At one time it was.
And I think maybe because we've had some issues over the last few months, I would suggest that maybe a monthly meeting might be a better idea until we get back on track. Just my 2 cents, but quarterly I think is what we had kind of set before, and I think that might be a little bit long between meetings. So I would suggest until we get back on track and maybe try and iron things out a little bit, that monthly meetings might be an idea.
Councillor Amter.
I think the last time there was a presentation from the RCMP is when you were introduced. How long have you been here now?
Almost a year.
So I think we missed our quarterlies, whether it was our fault or whatever happened.
Yeah.
I prefer to see you in the community than in my room here, is all. So if it's going to interfere with you being out in the field at all, I mean, I appreciate coming in every month. I just would love to see the car around town or whatever. Just that presence makes a big difference, and if that's seen, that helps, right?
And from where Michael sits, because Michael is the acting commander now, that will be his role to meet with different councils, whether it's your council or the county or the First Nations or the Métis settlements. That's part of his duties, is to meet with council and try and, if there are questions, to try and work through those problems or try to put people at ease with what we are doing. So more so than him being on the street driving around, is to meet with people to try to determine where they see the problems in the community, and if there's something that we're doing wrong, then we need to know about it. And that's kind of why right now, like we heard some of the things that or I heard some of the things that happened at the AUMA, and which brought some significant attention to our commanding officer for Alberta, and that's why I'm here tonight, is because she wants to know that we can get back on track and we can work together. So that's kind of why I'm suggesting maybe monthly meetings until things get ironed out a bit.
Perfect.
I just wanted to ask, because I wasn't at the AMA, I wasn't able to make it and find out what you guys found out, but I was just wondering what came out of the discussions and our concerns from that, because we did have some,
This.
I'm gonna say, well, I know they were coming regardless, I think, but
I think.
I don't know what else.
I'm here because the CO wants me here.
Okay. Well, that's great, but what happened at that time? What was?
Well, and to be honest with you, I wasn't there, so it's probably best that you hear it best from the people that were there. So.
Okay. Did we get our issues resolved? Are we comfortable with there's somebody on at night and is going to respond to our calls? That was the big one.
Did you get the package that was,
No.
did you get a package, did you get a book?
I didn't get the book.
The one I
So-
did for the,
No, I didn't get one. That went out.
Okay, so what the issues were with the enhanced policing
Yeah.
and the dog handler.
Yeah,
And-
and that was another one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so So the enhanced policing, we rolled up, enhanced policing, and what were the other two items with that one? It was a discussion on, we couldn't afford the enhanced policing. And as a partnership, is the RCMP gonna step forward and help us with it? So there was a lot of discussion on, if we decided not to continue with the enhanced policing, would there be drug enforcement in our community? And it would be up to Alert in Grand Prairie and Alert in Edmonton to pick up those pieces. So then that will become a budget discussion for us in 2016. The dog handler position has been vacant for 2 years, I believe,
I think it's, yeah, just a year, just a little over a year.
just over a year.
Yeah.
And we put forward the fact that this is a central community and that if they are going to fill the when they fill the position, we want it to be filled in High Prairie,
Posted here.
based out of High Prairie. So there was a discussion and he said, District Commissioner, Mary Ann, is that her name?
Yeah, Mary Ann Ryan, yeah.
Said she would take that under advisement and I believe there is some action on that.
As far as the dog handler position goes, there is going to be a study done out of headquarters in Edmonton. There's going to be an individual come out and he's going to be interviewing as many people as possible to try to determine what the need is specific to High Prairie versus say Peace River or Valley View or wherever another community might want to have a dog handler. So part of that report will go towards Senior Executive Committee for final determination as to where the RCMP feels it should go. If that position is deemed by the Senior Executive Committee to move out of High Prairie, then before that happens, then that recommendation has to go to the Solicitor General of Alberta for a final decision. If the Sol Gen's office says, no, we still want it in High Prairie, then that's where it'll be. But at the end of the day, the Sol Gen has the say. So,
Okay.
and right now, from what I've been told, the position is going to be advertised shortly. It's going to be advertised to be filled for High Prairie with a caveat that it could move to another community. But right now, it's specific to High Prairie, like I say, but with that caveat that it could move somewhere else.
And we are a great dog community.
Yeah, there's lots of dogs. Yes.
Not so much handler, but the dogs are really happy.
Yeah.
What else came up out of that?
Councillor.
So there was further discussion in regards to the coverage of 24 hours, possibility of midnight to 8 being no coverage at all.
Which is
So,
not true.
which may have been incorrect, but the presentation that was given to council was that there is no one available. And so that was relayed to Brenda, Glenn, Mary Ann, and Bill Sweeney.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. Right, you used to play for the Regals here? Yeah. So that was really strongly portrayed and pushed. And also, there was discussion that with the new building or detachment going up in Drift Pile, that I asked Glenn, I said, so that means the High Prairie detachment would be more here, right? Because now you've got that new building over there, you're covering all the settlements, that means you'll have more manpower available for High Prairie. And he smiled.
Yeah. Lakeshore is an entity of their own, and they have their own clients that they need to look after. And same as the RCMP, we have a client base that we need to look after, but that doesn't mean that, like, if Lakeshore needs help, that we're not going to help them, and vice versa. If we need help, Lakeshore is not going to help us, because right now we have a very good working relationship with the Lakeshore Police Service, and
So we've got Lakeshore there, and I think we have, I don't know what the title is, but we have one member for each of the settlements,
yes,
right?
for each of the Métis settlements,
So,
they're enhanced positions.
yeah, but it's not, you're not inclusive, or you are inclusive in what you actually do, right? Like you can do all of it, but they've got set roles, is what you're saying, so you still have to cover those areas also?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. We still have a provincial contract.
That's not the right answer.
Yeah. Well, it's still a provincial contract that we have to, but
Okay.
as part of our Métis settlements, there was discussions years ago that there would be one enhanced position for every Métis settlement in Alberta, and that was finally fulfilled 2 years ago, I think it was, that they finally filled all those positions, or that promise. And, but having said that, yes, you have an enhanced position to say Peavine for 8 hours a day. Well, we can't say, okay, we're there from 8 to 4 and Peavine, you're on your own for the rest of the day, because that would totally be unfair to that community, right? So and that's why there's a provincial agreement in there that we still have to provide further policing services.
As far as the nighttime, oh, sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
As far as the nighttime coverage goes, from midnight to 8 would be quite silly. There's no way that we could function that way, to have nobody responding during that time. There's just too much going on. When we were looking at our schedules, we have instituted 24-hour coverage on the weekends. We don't really like publicizing to the bad guys what our downtimes are.
Never done that.
Okay, good. Yeah. We want to make sure that.
Was an issue in another community where I worked.
Okay, so we have someone that's on until 4 o'clock. There's someone that's on call until 7 o'clock when the day shift arrives. So there are members available, but the rumor that I heard going around town with this 12 to 8, I don't even know where that would have come from, because nobody would have said that. And then when I actually read the report, it was not the way that it was portrayed as far as the rumors going around. There was a discussion between a supervisor in our radio room that said, here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to call it because of these reasons. And they were valid reasons. So we're going to have someone come out at this time. And I think they followed good protocol. And we did have members that came out afterwards and followed up as they should have at that time. Not to put blame on others, but we got to make sure that the information we're putting out there in the community is actually accurate. But I also get that when you're a victim of crime, especially in the first time, you are really impacted. Some people respond differently to it, but a lot of people, when it's their first time that this happens, or someone in their family that's affected, there's a reaction to it. And some people, I want justice, and a lot of times it's I want revenge. So I understand where people are coming from, but that wasn't the case. We don't have people not on shift from 12 to 8. We wouldn't be able to survive. It's a busy detachment. We have to have people on during those peak times. And that's just based on the policing model that is very similar to other places like Peace River, Slave Lake, and even in eastern Alberta where I came from. Same policing model. There is always going to be on call for this town of this size and also the area that we have.
Having said that, though, there are times during the shift schedule that the members are on 24 hours a day. So.
Yes.
And I'm not going to tell you which days.
And we do vary them too, depending on what's going on in the community. Sometimes we'll boost it up to a 24-hour coverage just because of what's going on. If we get tipped off on things, some things. And then we also have members that go past their shifts, so that on-call is actually reduced because of it, because of the calls that are taking past that 4 o'clock. So
some members who are on call actually will come into work early just in case something happens. So they have that degree of wanting to be ready to go and be accessible. And I can never fault a member for wanting to do more. So from what I see from the membership, I think they're doing a great job. So yeah. And as far as I know, I've heard some people say, well, crime is running rampant. Well, actually, it's not. It's this is one of the safest communities I've been in for a long time, and I was telling Mayor Cox just before the meeting started, like in 26 years that I've been policing, this is the longest time I've spent in a community. I've been here for over 4 years, and it's a hard pill for me to swallow to have to leave, but that's the nature of the business I'm in, and we have to leave and we have to transfer around, and that's just the way it is. But I feel very safe having my family in this community.
one last thing for me, I guess, that is the skate park is such a wonderful facility that we have here, and I think it's one of the biggest reasons why we have such little vandalism going on here. And I've heard some comments about the vandalism in town, and it is nothing like I have seen in other communities. I mentioned to your worship just last night that my hometown, the school board had a $195,000 budget per year just for broken windows. We don't see that in High Prairie, and that skate park is used phenomenally from sun up to sundown in the summer times, and even now. Today was a nice day. There was a bunch of people out there. We have a presence there daily. We even have 2 members that have bought their own bikes just to go and have a positive relationship with the youth. So, I'm very happy with that, and if we can get that in more communities, it'd be fantastic. And I want to say thanks to Brian again for all the assistance you gave with that graffiti. We've covered up 90% of the graffiti in town, I would say, and I think that was great for the community. And that's not credit to me, that's credit to one of my young constables who took that on as a project to address the graffiti, cover it up so that it wasn't something that people would want to continue on or think that it was okay in town.
Any other questions?
I have one, you had said there's 3 positions for the media settlements, or there's 1 position for the 3 media settlements?
There's 1 position for each Métis settlement.
There was.
There is.
Yeah, well,
So
there
there's-
is.
So that's a total of 3 out of this
Okay.
detachment.
So I was under the impression there was only 1
No,
for all 3.
1 per
1 per.
settlement.
Okay. These reports here, this is the first time I've seen them in this format. In fact, this is the first time I've seen any reports like this.
Well, typically, what we did with that was because the memo of understanding was with the county, we were giving it to the county. And
Oh.
I know you have an agreement with the county, but our agreement is with
Yes,
the
yes.
county. So if the county wanted to share that with you, then we're
They
leaving it
prob-
up to them.
yeah. They probably didn't even occur to them
Yeah,
to share it.
yeah.
So will you now make sure we get them also, or should we go back to the county and ask?
I would say, well,
I'll have that conversation with the county to make sure that they're okay with releasing that information.
Okay.
They can do it, or we can do it, especially if we're having meetings every month. That's what I think we've come to the decision, it's
Yeah.
every month. I would just bring that with me and we can discuss that. Cause I think 6 months, it's quite a bit to take in, but it also shows there's some really good work being done there.
Actually, it might impact our budget discussions when I see this type of information coming forward,
Absolutely.
so.
Just one quick question about the, sort of the events planning that you had suggested.
Yes.
So that's making an arrangement with the RCMP when
No.
you're having an event that you guys will be around for, or like what are you saying?
I'm saying that the organizations that are putting it on, their plans for how they organize are not sufficient for what's being experienced. Like we've seen with is it Astral Days or
Astral
Hippie
Harvest?
Days? Yes, exactly. They have a private security firm that they are hiring in order to make sure that things are maintained there. And again, takes the burden off of volunteers, so that they're not the person that's having to tell people no, because no one likes being told no. And if we can take that off, then we'll be fine. But last year, or this last Stampede, the overservice of liquor was horrendous. And that's why there were so many fights going on. And just unfortunately that night, even with the extra resources, we had things going on in other communities and here, of course, the homicide being one of them, that just took up our resources. So there has to be something else there, because we would go and we would see people that would call us for assistance but still had no plan in place, parking that was all over. We couldn't even get emergency vehicles in, even though their plan had said we will have an area free where EMS can come in, or police or fire, and you couldn't access that area. It was great that it was open, but you couldn't get to it. So there has to be some more organization there, and there has to be a change in the mentality of people coming. And the only way it's gonna happen is if we start taking those actions. Like, you can't come here because of your past actions. Maybe that'll get some people smart enough, or at least it's gonna keep them out of here where they're causing problems. Now, I believe there are some agreements that can come on with extra funding for a specific event, and that can be negotiated through the RCMP as well. But my talks were more of get people in to do your bartending, get people in to do your security, and don't put the burden on your community members that then have to face these people, the following day.
Any other questions? Thank you both for coming in
Thank you very much.
and helping clarify some. Appreciate it.
Just information is great, and we'll keep those lines open. I have been focusing more on the operations, because I've been doing the 2, I guess, senior positions here, and it's been a learning process for me, but it's also been very busy. Just as typical, I don't have a day that goes by that I go, boy, this day's dragging. There's always something to do, and it'll be a while before our new staff sergeant is in place, so we'll be doing double duty again.
just to emphasize that, things are not as busy as you might be in fear of.
Yeah.
It's still, this is a very manageable detachment, and it's being run well. And Michael he has focused a lot on operations in the last 9-10 months, but administratively, we've kind of fallen back a little bit, and that's just because of the vacancy of the position. So, but operationally, it's bang on.
We'll see you in our last council meeting in October, I guess.
Absolutely. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Okay, take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for coming in.
And any public delegations, seeing none?
Any other public applications?
Oh. Oh, I didn't, hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
I am so sorry.
That's okay.
Wait.
You caught me. So myself and the Chamber of Commerce are organizing a candidates forum here in High Prairie for Friday, October 9th, 7 p.m. So I encourage all council members to attend. And if anyone would actually like to sit on the panel, we're gonna have a panel of myself, someone from the newspaper, Tracy Shikari, the Chamber president, and someone from council or the county to ask questions to the candidates. I have 4 confirmed out of the 5. So
Nice. Are we your last?
sorry.
So you have a county councillor already sent her?
I don't have any confirmation yet from them. But if one councillor wants to come
I think she was
down,
talking
And you said that the questions are prescribed.
yeah, so we're gonna take some questions to be emailed to me and then I'll give them to the candidates prior to the forum, just so they feel more comfortable about what's gonna be asked, and there's also gonna be a question period available for residents who wanna come and ask questions at the forum. Just we'll give priority to the questions that have been previously submitted.
And you and I have spoken about this when I was doing the other stuff with the radio. Who's our moderator going to be?
I want to get Gord Olson, but I don't have confirmation from him yet.
Okay.
But if you're interested in moderator position, let me know, cause I can
Oh
set
gosh,
that
no.
up.
No, I would, if it's the wish of council, I mean, but I would be more than happy to volunteer for the questions side of it, but not to moderate.
Okay. If anyone else wants to moderate, let me know. Still looking, so.
But thank you ever so much for that, and again, my apologies. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Hot cotton.
You get to play Peter Mansbridge.
And on to Protective Services 2C, page 19. Councillor Epter.
Make a motion that council receive Ms. Soroka's request to lower the speed limit along Evergreen Drive from the intersection of 55th Ave, Pleasant View Drive to the High Prairie Elementary School for information.
Discussions.
We should have had a discussion with the RCMP when we were here about their view on this.
That is, yes, Mayor Cox.
I probably agree with what Councillor Emter is saying, is thinking. He didn't say it, but he's thinking it,
Oh, you're
is,
good.
the speed limit is 50. There's not children, it's not a playground area, it's not a school, it's not what other part do we use to bring it down to 30?
Unless you consider the tennis courts
No.
part of that area, but
No.
not really.
So I guess it's enforcement that I would be looking at rather than lowering the speed limit.
The speed limit is probably, for council's information, just about up to the big curve from the school. So when you pass,
It's 30 over half the way.
yeah, on the map, I should be able to tell you how far. It's probably up this, around 46th Street, it goes that far, so.
Yeah.
The school zone.
That's a new map.
It is pretty nice, isn't it?
I was wondering why you got a color one and I didn't.
We took the other ones out because they all showed direct controls.
So, yes, it's already halfway, so.
That was gonna be my comment also, could maybe talk to the RCMP and keep an eye on that area, and it might also be another area where we put the signs up, like the speed signs, even the portable one. I know that I did see the portable sign there for a day or two, but it was already when, just before you hit the stop sign, so you're already slowing down, but putting it further up on the lane might have been more effective in slowing people down.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, could we possibly send a letter off to,
Mr. Roca?
just letting her know what the decision of council is and thanking her?
Yeah.
3A.
You wanna vote?
Pardon me.
vote.
Any
Mr.
further
Chair?
discussion? None. Oh, a roll of the eye even. All those in favor? Your turn's next.
Thanks.
Councillor Amster.
That council received the 2015 Public Works Report as presented for information.
Mayor Cox.
Can you tell me if any, what work was done on the lift station across from, Mr. Sofranix?
We're still working on that. We changed the filters on that,
Is it,
on that lift station.
What
I
number
don't
is
know.
that, station two?
No, that is, 4, I believe.
Okay.
And we're still looking at other options, which I talked to you about,
Mhm.
the vent system within the building itself, and increasing exhaust stacks on the roof, extending that to get the smell up and out.
Maybe you should let the rest of them know your problem.
The resident across from the new lift station on 49th Street had complained about increased smells since the construction of the new lift station. So we're looking at various options to eliminate them. And one was installing new filter system in the lift station itself, which we did. And our engineers tell us that the filter is only good for 3 months, so we're looking at other options besides that. And increasing the stack to carry the smells and that away. You would think in the new construction and technology that it would be a better system, but I guess they don't.
I thought it would have been. I haven't heard any complaints.
No.
Our
Well, we've
cul-de-sac.
been getting complaints, but we've been working on them too, so.
Our cul-de-sac, when you go into our backyard even, everybody talks about the smell.
You can
That's
smell it more.
been in our backyard, they can smell it, it just sort of settles in.
Really?
And as the westerly winds going.
So why would it be any different with the new one than it was with the old one? What's
The
happening?
old one, it had, the smells were out of there too, and they complained about them too, but not near as many complaints as the new one, so.
It was there before, just more
It was there,
complaints?
yeah, there's more complaints.
Brian, have you gone back to the engineer to sort of explain?
I think Vern has, and he's made them aware about, to look at future designs and that on these facilities, whether they're taking them into consideration.
$2.3 million doesn't get you much.
Well, I'm concerned that, Mr. Chair, that, somebody's gonna be measuring this air quality pretty soon. And we're going to be really scrambling at that point, because this aroma is quite pervasive, and it's lots, like.
Well, then Mr. Chair, we should actually be getting ourselves CHS to go in and test it. And
Absolutely.
if there is a problem, then we need to go back to the engineering firm and say, sorry, you need to come back and fix it on your dime.
Which brings me to the question, I think you brought it up. It's a 50-year pump designed to last that long. And the question was, how is a building that's basically plywood and tin gonna last 50 years? Is the construction of the building itself maybe causing some of the problems instead of being a concrete brick building?
No.
No?
What Terry, who's basically the top guy in the sewer field for us, says that when the motors are down below and it's agitating poo to be pumped. He said it has to stir it up, and that's why the smell. He said if it wasn't for that part about it stirring it up, and he said you wouldn't have no smell to it.
Do we have that a problem with all those lift stations around town? I've never actually heard of anybody complaining. This one, I've had 3 complaints.
More so on this one, I don't know why. But basically, they're all designed the same way.
And that one did smell before. My mom lived in that house, that green and white 2-story, and there was lots of times that it was not very pleasant to sit outside.
But it was a really close proximity smell before. And now if it's going all the way, Councillor Long's, it's a block away. I do know that the Silverwood Crescent, because we didn't have the flow going through, there was often smell along the eastern side of 44th Street. But now with the hospital and everything else coming online, that's going to alleviate everything. There'll be more movement and flow, and it'll push it away.
It should.
We hope so.
Any further? Okay, Panasik and then Mayor Cox.
I'm just curious what's, I see the sidewalks going in and all of that. Is there a timetable for the completion of that?
The contractor had a hard time getting the kind of compaction proxies to meet the compaction. So he had first put the gravel down and it didn't work out. He compacted it with a small tamper. We suggested he get a bigger one, which he did. Still didn't work out, still couldn't meet the density test, so I think he changed out, tried a different pit, tried different material. And he phoned me yesterday and said that the first section from where Joe Lansky lives along the highway, that first section that they did up to USA it met the tests and it could be paved, so. But that's the only part that's been approved so far. But he's changed materials, so. So hopefully was the cause of it.
Well, and I noticed he's got a, like a much heavier, like a little speed
Roller, yeah.
Mayor Cox.
So going back to your comment about testing the air quality, who would be testing that?
Community Health Services.
Is it something that we want council to consider?
I would say so, but there's going to be a problem. I'd rather we get on it than somebody come in with health issues. I don't think there's an actual fee for it. It's either Alberta Environment or Community Health Services test air quality.
They'd have to be there when sit there and wait till
I don't think that'd be very long.
till the pump actually kicks in.
To agitate.
Yeah.
I think they can actually set up a station and let it sit for X amount of hours and then come back.
Well, we got an enclosed compound there, so they could put it right there,
It'd
so
be
it
safe to sit there.
would be safe, yeah.
And you can buy portable civilian air quality testers as well. So it's depends on how accurate you want it to be.
I like the idea of Alberta Environment.
Absolutely.
If that's who it is.
It's either going to be Community Health Services or Alberta Environment.
Or we can direct administration to contact. I'd like to be a bit proactive on this, because I think it is something that the citizens are going to.
And let's do it while the construction phase is just completed. If there is an issue in the design or something else, let's get it done and not wait 2 years where it's our problem.
Or it could ease minds to find out that there's no quality control, but it's just a smell that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I have one more. The roof of the swimming pool, did anything happen on that?
Nothing yet.
Okay, and that was something that was brought forward by the recreation board regarding there's a couple of things on the roof still that require some patching. So they were identified by a contractor that went up on the roof, and because it's our roof and we just had it done, I gave it to Mr. Martinson.
But didn't they leave before finishing it and they were supposed to come back and finish it?
No, they just left.
Okay.
Did we sign on it?
I don't know if recreation did it, or if that was warranty work.
That was
It
warranty.
was warranty.
So we didn't have to sign again?
I don't know.
And no recreation wouldn't sign because they knew it was our roof.
They, well, unless it was Kelly before.
Okay. And it's extended warranty, so just because they worked on it doesn't mean that the warranty is now finished. It should still be under warranty.
So just with that, do we need to do anything on that? Is there,
I've left it in Brian's.
okay, so we don't need a
As soon as
motion
Mr.
or?
Gearing gets out of the pool, I'll have him look at it. He's
Must be
supposed-
out of the pool, isn't he? Because it takes 10 days to cure.
I know, but he's supposed to be over in, Moose Tooth Building doing the renovations over there too, so.
Ah, busy
And then
little
he's
man.
working at for the county all the time, so he's got too much on his plate.
I thought literally he was always in the pool. All those in favor? Carried.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I move to direct administration to contact the appropriate authorities to test air quality at lift station number 4. And you can change that number if that's the wrong one.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Just
Seeing-
the one thing, maybe for clarification, what if there's a cost, like it might not be done for free, or? Free is, it would obviously make it no issue, but, if there is a cost.
I'll inquire before I,
Yeah, what, how, can you read it back and see what,
Nancy, can you read the motion back?
Direct administration to contact the appropriate authority to test the air quality at lift station number 4.
to contact the appropriate authority and find costs for.
Yeah,
just-
Cost and process.
Yeah, and I think as long as it's understood that
Yeah,
if it's
cost
gonna
and
cost
process.
us
I wouldn't do it.
$5,000 to come back.
No.
Charge it to the engineers. So do we want this brought back?
Only if it's gonna cost.
Do you wanna put that in, or?
Is it a health issue or isn't it?
It'll
If
be
it's
on
a health
to do
issue
list, so
and we're trying to be
We want to do
proactive,
this.
it'll be on to do list, so it'll be brought back.
It'll be brought back because it's on the to-do list, so I'll just leave it the way it is unless someone else wants to add anything else.
yeah, I mean, if we feel it's truly a health issue and we wanna be proactive, then we direct administration to do it and let them use their discretion as to. And then if it costs us and we find that there's a problem,
He's
then we
still
go
on
back
the
to the
to-do
contractor.
list and he'll tell us what he did.
Mhm. So,
Do something.
good motion, all those do you wanna read it back one more time? We're good? All those in favor? Perfect. And then on to 3A, regular meeting minutes for September 8th, 2015. Counselor Panasic, I look to the left first,
Oh, he had his hand up first, we didn't want to.
regardless.
I move the council approve the minutes from the September 8th regular meeting of council as presented.
Discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And 3A2, special meeting council September 11th. Counselor Danaka, there you go.
Council approved the minutes from the September 11th, 2015 special meeting of council as presented.
Any discussions? Mayor Cox?
No. That is what it is.
No, okay, so far no discussions. Seeing none, all those in favor? And 5A, Councillor Rose.
That council forward Stars Foundation request for support in the amount of $8,000 to the 2016 budget deliberations.
Discussion. Councillor Danaka.
I have no problem with doing this, it's just that in the past meetings, we've discussed, talking about no, donations to outside organizations. I mean, this is an outside organization, I think we need to define what we're doing. I'm all for it, but I'm just going from past discussions, we were saying, you know, no donations to outside organizations.
But we're not approving it, we're just saying, put it to the deliberations and we'll discuss it at that time. That's
Okay.
all. Okay.
Perfect.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Page 44, property tax exemption, Councillor Hunter.
I was actually trying to sneak in on a 3B of 1, and because this is time sensitive for the invite, we will have a council meeting between now and the candidate forum. I'd like to make a motion that council approve the attendance of one councillor to participate at the all candidates forum on October 9th from 6:30 till end.
Are you adding this to the agenda?
Yeah, I'm making a motion right now because it's time sensitive, otherwise we can't, nobody can go as a rep from the town. Next council meeting is October 14th, so it'll be 5 days overdue.
I think all council should be encouraged to attend though.
Well, I agree with that. We gotta authorize somebody to, on a volunteer basis,
Absolutely.
part of our public civic duty.
I don't know if you can put an agenda item in the middle of the,
You bet.
As long
You
as we
bet.
all agree, right?
well, I guess Trevor's not here, so.
Because it was
Delete
brought
that
forward,
part of the video, eh?
my understanding is because it was brought forward from public delegation, it is on the agenda, it has been brought forward to the agenda.
But you're not supposed to do anything with public delegation.
No, you're not supposed to make motions from stuff that comes out of delegations.
This is what the law.
They are correct, Michael. However, because it is time sensitive, and I'd hate for one of us to get in trouble for showing up and representing the town.
May I draw your attention to page 16 of 21, clause 30.7.2. During the course of the meeting, should a member of council deem that an item be added to the agenda for council's consideration, the member shall propose the addendum by motion, after which the chair shall rule on the emergency.
And I rule that you're correct, Councillor Hunter, it is time sensitive, and so if we wish to make a decision on this thing.
So I'd like to put forward a motion that all of council is encouraged to attend the All Candidates Forum on October 9th at the Elks Rodeo Hall. And I also, that one of the council members be approved to participate as a, what do you need?
Panel member.
Panel member.
Panel member, I'd like an actual name put forward, so that we don't end up trying to figure out who's going to be that, so could you put a name forward as the panel member?
I would volunteer that.
That's good. Michael wants to. You can do it. I'll go. Brian.
You've got 2 volunteers and I don't know if I can make it on.
Oh, there's
today.
just one. There's just one, but that's okay.
No,
So
it's
Michael
around
Long,
10, but,
Councillor Long as the panel member.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Boy, I'd be really depressed if you guys all opposed it. I'd bring out my white towel and throw it. Thank you very much.
Can we just clarify one thing? If we can't make it, should we have said or alternate? Like, does it matter? Would you guys like to make sure that there's a
Anybody.
somebody representing?
As long as one of us
Somebody
is
covers,
there.
okay.
Michael has, you know, issues.
Yeah, we know Michael's got some issues. No.
You can contact one of us if you need
Sometimes he
to.
forgets where he's supposed to be.
Sometimes.
You're right.
You'll be calling me nonstop. Are you yet? Okay, thank you for that. And which brings us to property tax exemption, which is where we were going initially, which is 5A2, page 44 of your agenda. Councillor Rose.
The council received a request from the Accredited Support Living Services for property tax exemption in the amount of $1,961.26 for information.
discussion? Mayor Cox.
I'd like this explained a little bit as to who is accredited sports living services, and can you, I read this over, I didn't understand. Can you go through it again?
Put it in a nutshell.
Okay, they rent a half a building on across from Rona,
Okay,
and they're renters. Cause when I talked to this lady, I asked her, Mrs. Gall, whether the only reason I seen where they could give tax exemption is from if they own the building themselves. Like the house that, Marygold owned, so, and she said no, that they have, rentals in Grand Prairie and High Level that they fall under the guidelines of tax exemption.
okay, but they're renters.
They're renters, yeah. That's part of their rent, and their rental agreement, and here I think I showed that.
71 and
Also that
72.
it will show that their rent would have been, they would have just increased it with their rent, but they're exempt from taxes, so.
As long as they apply each year by the
By,
date.
by September 30th, they have that.
And if they miss it, that's.
Yeah, they've met all their conditions, so I don't really know whether council can legally refuse them, but. I never-
For next year, but this year we can't.
This year they paid them already,
Oh, well then.
but they're applying for 2016. This is,
But that's with the government of Alberta, that's not with us.
no, that's with us. They're applying,
Right now.
To us for a tax
Correct.
exemption.
yeah,
For 2016?
for 2016, yeah,
Okay.
And they're doing it before September 30th.
yeah.
But I thought that was an actual,
Councillor Rose.
I looked over the lease agreement, right, and I don't see, the only thing it says that the sum of $1,680 shall not include utilities, garbage pickup, business tax. That's the only reference to tax in their agreement, which is the business tax. They're paying a rent of $1,680, $80 of that is GST. Nowhere in here does it say that they're being charged property tax. So how can they put this claim, and it says on page 72, item 15, the lessor shall pay all property taxes levied against the property. That's the
Yeah.
owner.
that's the owner.
That's the owner. So they're this lease that they provided us says that the owner's paying the property taxes. And is this a Darryl Citric building? Is this where these people are?
Yes, it is.
So he's renting it and he's paying his property taxes just like he does on every other building. I don't understand the ask. It doesn't say that as a lessee, we are being charged property taxes and now we are applying for this tax break. I don't understand. Am I missing something?
And it doesn't say that if we waive those taxes, that cost saving will be passed on to them.
It'll be passed on to Dale, to the
So-
lessor. That's the only person that we can waive the taxes for is the owner of the property. We can't waive the taxes for,
Yeah.
like Daryl has to come in, or the owner of the building probably has to come in, apply for it with all this paperwork and maybe restructure a lease that says that they're paying property taxes. Cause it specifically says that they're not paying, that the lessor is paying property taxes.
It's here. Clause 15.
Actually, it's number 2 on page 71. To pay and discharge as when the same become due all business tax charges, rates, duties, license fees, assessment levy in respect to the personal property or business of the lessee on the demise premise.
So you're saying assessment?
Yeah, they do pay the assessment.
Well, if you look at number 15, the next point on the next page.
Yeah, that makes no sense though.
But if there's a difference between business tax,
No, but it says the assessed levy in respect to the personal property or, well, no, so that's,
license fees, if there's a fee for the business, that license fee, that's what I'm getting out of that.
no, I'm looking at the assessment. Assessment levy in respect of the personal property. But that's just personal property, that's not building. So there is no property tax.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't see, I mean, they may be able to come back to us differently, but right now with this lease,
see what they're paying.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I would think that we should get back to them, let them know, and then if they come back, they have applied, if they come
Yeah.
back again with, you know,
More proof.
more proof that this is going to come off, then we could reconsider it as being within the time frame, because they did apply and put in lots of effort there, so.
So the letter basically would say, if you appeal, we will still, consider that your date
Has been met.
has been met.
With a different lease arrangement, basically, right? Because right now the lease arrangement is not very clearly saying, or if it's actually clearly saying that the lessor is paying the property taxes. So there's no way that we can possibly grant it to them because they're not responsible or paying them. The bill is going out to the lessor.
Yeah. So where are we at with this?
Receiving for information.
And discussion of having them come back with a new agreement?
No, just
No?
receive the information and
Okay,
the letter will be written saying that
good. All those in favor?
it stands now, and then let me know.